Hello everyone, today I'll go over what if Deku becomes Momo's Titan Part 6. And all the credit goes to the author in the description below. Let us begin. Chapter 22. I'm sorry. Please stop. Ow. Izumi begged the enraged older woman, who repeatedly struck her with a cane over her head. You are sorry? Is that all you have to say, young lady? How many times have I told you to be careful with Ofa? I'm not even talking about what you have done to yourself. The small nurse yelled, stopping the assault because she was starting to get out of breath. Did you see how damaged Knight was after absorbing all that force? What do you think would happen to young Todoroki if you hit him with that? You'd better thank that young man properly for stopping you two in time. Recovery Girl continued, causing the greenette to flinch when she remembered what had happened to her giant friend. I'm really sorry. I don't know what happened to me. It was as if nothing else mattered at that moment but to win. I never felt that before. Is Knight-san all right? Izumi asked dejectedly. From what I understand, he is. After a short break, he returned to hosting the events with Midnight. His organism has to be one of the toughest ones I've ever seen. That young man just shrugged off his arm being blown off like it's nothing, she replied, going to her desk. Your fingers should be good for now. But what you did was extremely reckless. There's nothing I could do about how crooked they become or the scaring. There were even a few bone splinters I needed to remove. If you do something like this again, I'm not healing you, the older woman replied sternly. Looking down at get bandaged hands, Izumi's mood dropped a bit. She really needed to get better and fast. Young Midoriya, how are you feeling? The loud and boisterous voice of her mentor resounded, with the mountain of a man entering the room. Seeing that ever-present smile on his face caused the small greenette to smile a bit too. I'm fine, All Might Sensei, she replied, but winced seeing the murderous look from the nurse. That's good. I'm so proud of you. That fight was incredible, and you seem to have gotten an even better grasp on your quirk, he replied, but yelped in surprise when Recovery Girl struck him over his shins. Don't you encourage her, you giant idiot. Her hands are scarred for life. She is a young lady and needs to take care of herself more than that. The older woman continued to berate him, not seeing that the doors opened slowly. Izu-chan? Inko asked shyly but froze seeing the number one hero being assaulted by a small grandmotherly-looking woman. Izumi. You were so fucking amazing. Oh, hey look, it's All Might. Mitsuki shouted happily, pushing the older greenette into the room. Mom, Auntie. Izumi greeted, a bit unsure what to do about the battle of the aged just beside her bed. It looked like the mightiest man in the history of mankind was losing too. Izu-chan. I was so worried. Are you all right? Are you hurt anywhere? Inko seemed to restart, opting to ignore everything besides her daughter. I'm fine, Mom. It looks worse than it is, she replied, looking to the nurse who glared back. Though the older woman didn't voice her displeasure, she knew why the younger girl wanted to keep the more gruesome facts to herself. Well then, young Midoriya. We'll meet again in class. I wish you victory in the upcoming fights, All Might said loudly, beginning a strategic retreat in the pause Recovery Girl took to glare at her patient. Wait. Why even were? And he's gone. Mitsuki started, but the giant hero nearly dispersed with how fast he excited the room. That dumb old man may be a great hero, but not a teacher. Izumi here is one of his favorites even when he shouldn't have any. She reminds him of his own beginnings. Toshinori had trouble with his own quirk at the start too. The small old woman said, a bit exasperated she needed to cover for the blonde. Wow. You are the favorite of number one. You are even more fucking amazing than I thought. Mitsuki exclaimed loudly, with a wide smile. Thank you, Auntie. It took me by surprise too, Izumi replied shyly. Izu-chan. Maybe you shouldn't fight anymore. Your hands are all bandaged up, Inko said, surprising her daughter and friend. Finally, someone with at least a bit of common sense entered my domain, Recovery Girl stated in the background. Mom, it's really important to me. I can't give up halfway, not after so many people believed in me. The younger greenette replied, looking her mother in the eyes. Well, if you are sure. But please be more careful, Inko said, hugging her daughter in return. Damn it. Give me back my hope, the older woman once again exclaimed, seemingly to herself. The third fight of the quarterfinals will begin shortly, Monoma Nato versus Yaoyorozu Momo. Who will win, the copycat or the princess of creation? Let's see for ourselves. Present Mike's voice sounded from a TV hanging in the room. Oh, it's Momo-san's turn already? Did Melissa-san win her match? Izumi perked up, looking at the screen. The two combatants walked out of opposite sides of the arena, going to the ring under heavy ovations from the crowds. Yes, Melissa-chan won with your classmate. All of your friends seem so amazing. Inko replied in a bit of awe. She felt extremely happy that her little girl was at long last making friends, not to mention how powerful all of them were. But how will that girl defeat that blonde brat? He used 3 different quirks in the last match. Mitsuki asked, but was a bit puzzled seeing the young greenette sweat drop and smile a bit. Momo-san isn't someone you should underestimate. She has more options in her arsenal than the whole heroic course put together. Izumi replied. She decided that there was no reason to tell the two grown-ups that her black-haired friend was on a warpath and decided to curb stomp her opponent. The camera showed up at midnight, again standing on Izuku's arm. Seemingly she decided that it was safer there, after her unforeseen shower in lubricants. Are you two ready? She asked, getting a nod from Monoma. Momo was smiling like an angel, and confirmed with a small nod too. Begin. The sexy heroine announced, striking out with her whip. It would be good if you decided to withdraw, Momo-chan. I don't want to hurt you. Monoma immediately stated, quite happy in himself that the raven-haired girl was smiling like that at him. Oh, but what if I want to hurt you? Momo replied, her arm starting to glow. Eh? He asked dumbly and had only half a second to start using steel. His opponent took out a shotgun identical to the one she used in the second event, and after pumping it once she fired immediately, aiming straight into his face. This time the whole weapon seemed a bit bigger, and when the beanbag bullet struck him in between his eyes he was pushed back by the impact. Momo didn't seem fazed by that at all and still with a beautiful smile pumped the weapon again and took aim, this time significantly lower. Seeing that her opponent used a defensive ability, she started to leisurely walk closer, firing the weapon. Feeling an impact to his groin, the blonde man reacted instinctively, covering his family jewels, but after 2 more hits, he realized that Tetsu's quirk protected him fully. Starting to get angry at his opponent, Monoma moved closer to meet with the still firing at him girl in the middle of the ring. Seeing that her idiotic opponent realized her attacks were more psychological than physical, Momo smiled even more. Firing one last round into his left foot, she tripped him up, causing his charge to fail and the blonde teen to nearly fall to his face. Flinging her weapon into the air, she caught it by the still warm barrel and swung it like a baseball bat straight into Monoma's face yet again, with the full force her body could produce. With the defensive quirk managing to hold out, the blonde copycat was launched backwards in a rain of the destroyed parts from the shotgun that shattered on his steel skull. Skidding to a halt after a few meters, he looked to the sky in a slight daze. Oofufu. Is something the matter, Monoma-kun? The fight already started, you know? You shouldn't lie down like that, it's dangerous. The melodic voice of his opponent sent a few shivers down his spine, especially after he felt that only 7 minutes of steel remained in his own quirk. Looking to the approaching Ravenette, he saw that she created a weighted staff like in her fight with Kendo, already twirling it in one hand like it was nothing. Springing up, he decided that if she wanted a fight, then she would get one. Using his invulnerability, he sprinted directly to her, preparing himself to parry. The blonde copycat smirked, seeing the telegraphed attack, a straight swing with one hand. He braced himself, receiving the strike with one armed block. His eyes widened from the amount of force, being pushed a bit to the side. Just when he was about to strike with a fist of his own, he received a roundhouse kick into his torso that once again sent him rolling on the ground. And once again with resting in the middle of a fight. Are you really trying? Momo asked in a disappointed tone of voice, clearly enjoying herself. Looking to the side, he saw that the Titan Momo he chose over him was watching him closely, He couldn't help but get angry at the thought that this giant steel trash can was probably having fun too. It only fueled his anger, causing the blonde to get back to his feet. Why did you choose this joke instead of me? You wanted to have a toy instead of a real man, he said, not bothering to keep all that to himself anymore. Suddenly the smile the raven-haired girl had on her face from the beginning of the match disappeared, anger flashing in her eyes. What? She asked flatly. You heard me. I was trying to get us two together for over 2 years now and you suddenly decided to choose that junk heap instead of me? That's not even funny, Momo replied. Nobody really paid attention to the titan in question who looked to the ground in sadness. You. She started, venom dropping from her words. I don't know what father sees in you, or how you managed to weasel yourself into his good graces. Continuing, she started to walk to her opponent. Her arms and legs started to glow brilliantly. But you have no right to say such things about my Zuko, she shouted, starting to run. With a sudden roar of rocket engines, she jumped to her surprised opponent from over 8 meters and delivered a jaw-breaking Superman punch. With the force of the attack, the blonde teen was launched back, but not slowing down. Momo caught up to him and still with rocket assist she kicked him in his stomach, nearly launching him out of bounds. Pushing himself to his knees, Momo spat out a metallic tooth that immediately changed into a normal one when it left his body. He rose unsteadily, dropping his classmate's quirk. Seeing that his opponent started to slowly walk toward him, he decided that it was time to use the ace that unexpectedly fell into his hands. Enraged, Momo decided to end this farce of a fight and started to walk to Momo. Seeing that his form turned back to normal from that metallic one, she decided that it wasn't worth it to use anything more than her pure physical ability. That infuriating, smirking face of his gave her a bit of a nasty feeling. And half a second later his hair and arms caught on fire, giving off a lot of heat. She stopped around 10 meters from him, shielding her eyes from the scalding winds that picked up immediately. Ha ha ha. How do you like it, Momo-chan? I didn't want to use it earlier, especially if this would damage your beautiful face in any way. But if you insist on making all this so hard, then what choice do I have? He started to cackle to himself, a bit of blood dripping from his mouth. With widening eyes, Momo saw how that idiot thrust his hands forward, a wall of fire shooting at her with high speed. Still standing on Izuku's palm, Midnight observed another uncanny show of force from her students. She was trying to decide if an intervention was needed, but looked to her co-host in surprise when the same sound that he was fighting with Mirko caught her ears. A high-pitched turbine-like sound could be heard from the giant, but he didn't make any move yet. Izuku's eye was trained on the laughing blonde who caught on fire, and when Momo attacked Momo it narrowed nearly to a pinprick. He barely stopped himself from intervening, knowing that it would only bring more trouble for his friend. His sensors clearly saw how the whole body of Momo started to glow just before the inferno engulfed her. Equals directive 0 feet keep her safe. Equals with this prompt flashing angrily red in his vision, he had to forcefully keep himself from moving, barely managing not to give in to the impulse. The onslaught of flames continued for a few seconds, with Momo laughing maniacally. Suddenly an armored arm reached out of the inferno he was creating and gripped him by his face, lifting the dumb-struck blonde into the air. He gripped onto the steaming hot gauntlet on reflex, trying to lighten the sudden force put onto his neck. You can't just give up like a normal person, can you? Muffled voice of the Ravenet could be hard, her form now visible after her opponent stopped his flames. Standing in a thick armor that covered her from top to bottom, Momo looked like a horrifying knight straight out of hell. Some of the plating was even still glowing dully from the heat. Only by pure luck Momo didn't get burned, managing to not drop hellfire. Not bothering to do anything else, the raven-haired girl tossed her opponent out of bounds. With the blonde still emanating a lot of heat, all around the grass immediately darkened where he fell, some of it even catching flame. The winner by ring out is Yaoyorozu Momo, Midnight announced. With a short pause the crowds of spectators exploded in cheers. Suddenly Momo's form exploded in white steam, catching everyone by surprise. Setting his co-host on the ground, Izuku went to help his friend. He offered his hand on which she sat, taking her helmet off. It angered him a bit when he saw a few light burn marks on her face. I'll take you to recovery, girl. We should patch your wounds immediately, he said, not taking no for an answer. Seeing that interaction, the spectators started to cheer them on even more, knowing about their relationship. Izuku-kun, could you please take Momo-kun with you if you are going to the infirmary? Midnight asked. She heard what the blonde teen said about the giant, but she still was a teacher and had to take care of the students, even the ones she didn't like. Stopping for a second, the steel giant looked at the other combatant. The blonde idiot was trying to sit up, clutching his side. He only has a concussion, cracked jaw, a few broken ribs, and bruised limbs. He can get to the infirmary by himself. Izuku replied after running a quick scan of Monoma's body. Midnight's sweat dropped at that, especially when the Titan cradled the black-haired girl to his chest like a crystal figurine that could shatter at any moment, and all she had were a few minor burns that wouldn't even leave a trace. Signaling to the medical team for pickup by herself, she announced the next match to be in 10 minutes to give her co-host a bit of time. Zuku, could you take me to my preparation room first? Momo asked her giant friend, already knowing that he wouldn't let her walk by herself. You need to get medical attention first, before anything else, he replied in a serious voice. I'm not that hurt. And I need to do something before that. She tried to argue, getting a bit of a blush at the end. I can't allow you to go around injured. What could be so important for you to delay your healing? He refused, still walking to the infirmary. Zuku, I'm naked under this armor, she whispered, with her face getting crimson from embarrassment. Her giant friend froze mid-step, nearly falling over. To the waiting room it is, he said, turning around with a stiff posture. An awkward silence fell between them, only Izuku's heavy footsteps accompanying them for now. Setting Momo to the ground in front of the doors to her room, he stood to the side waiting for her to exit. Night. Is Momo inside? Yaoyorozu Takahashi walked up to him, with a stern look on his face. Yes, she is now changing into a new uniform, he replied truthfully, looking to the man. Good. I'm sorry for that outburst earlier, you two caught me off guard. I won't try to beat around the bush. The fact that my daughter is going out with someone like you isn't too acceptable for me. He started, looking at the young man before him. With the damage still quite fresh on his left side, he was looking rather intimidating. I know. I don't think I'm someone worthy of being in a relationship with her too. The reply he got from the giant surprised him. Takahashi was prepared to be told off, or for the steel giant to argue at least. Then why are you with her? He asked, genuinely curious. Momo asked me to. If it makes her happy, then I will stay by her side, Izuku replied yet again. And you don't want anything in return? You are doing that just because? The older man continued to ask. Princess is someone important to me. She saved me from death in Nevada and gave me a purpose. I don't see why I should want anything more from her. The steel giant said back, looking to the waiting room. The doors opened and the girl in question stepped out. The slight burns that were visible on her face weren't the only ones. Her arms and legs were bare to not irritate the damaged skin on them. Seeing her father, Momo stiffened immediately. She looked to her friend who stood to the side, trying to guess what they were talking about. Let's go to the infirmary, princess. Sadly, Kayama-sensei can't delay for me indefinitely, Izuku said, offering his hand to the ravenette once more. She sat down in it, holding onto her friend's metallic thumb. Thank you for our conversation, Yaoyorozu-san. We are planning to visit your home in the upcoming days. We can continue then if you want, Izuku said to the black-haired man, who was still observing them. Sadly, I will be going for a business trip later tonight and won't be home for a few weeks. I'm sure that Maya will be happy to have you thou. Good day to you, Izuku-kun. Takahashi replied with a small smile, walking away. Taken off guard, Momo looked at her friend's eye. What were you two talking about? She asked, incredibly curious. Just some things. Your father is really protective, he replied. Increasing his speed, Izuku arrived at the infirmary in half a minute, having around 4 more minutes until the next fight began. He set his friend down and opened the door for her. I need to go now. Please heal up properly and eat something if you can, Izuku said. looking after the Ravenet who entered the nurse's office. I know Zuko, I know. You don't need to babysit me like that, she replied, giggling a bit. Observing his retreating form for a few seconds, she closed the door and went further into the room. Momo-san. You are so amazing. Azumi's voice caught her attention immediately. Looking around, the black-haired girl spotted her friend in the company of two older women and decided to go to them. Yeah. Izumi here nearly fell out of the bed when you emerged from those flames like a fucking demon from hell. Mitsuki cackled, patting the younger girl on the back. Mitsuki. We are in the infirmary, please keep your voice down, Inko reprimanded. It's all right. Recovery girl sighed, walking to Momo. She looked her over and just extended her lips to the surprise of the young girl. You won't even check me up? The Ravenet asked, but got an unamused look back. That boyfriend of yours forwarded me a whole medical examination's worth of documentation of you around half a minute after your match ended. Only God knows how he managed to do an MRI scan so fast and on the move, not to mention the resolution. The small heroine mumbled to herself, walking back to the blonde teen who was still waiting to have a basic examination done. Mo-chan. Are you alright? You didn't get burnt, right? I'm sure that Izuku-kun won't mind if you did, but it would be a real shame. With a sigh, Momo braced herself and caught her homing missile of a mother. I'm fine, Mom. Just a bit tired. And hungry. Yes, definitely hungry, she said, massaging her stomach a bit. Hello, Edward? Please bring something to eat for Mo-chan to the infirmary. Yes, the usual. Thank you. Looking back at her mother, she saw her talking to the family's butler. Momo-san. How is Knight-san feeling? Is he all right? I know that he is still with Midnight-sensei, but I feel so bad about hurting him. Izumi asked her friend, in a small and dejected voice. Don't worry, he is a bit sore but otherwise all right. The Ravenet replied, deciding not to mention that she found him falling over onto a wall. That reminds me. I'm making a party tomorrow to celebrate your placement in the festival. All of you are invited, and all of your classmates too, of course. Maya happily stated, it wasn't that often she could host an event like that, especially for her daughter's friends. Mom. You are celebrating too fast, don't you think? We still have a few fights before us. Momo replied, already used to her mother's antics. Peef. That's only a formality at this point. All of you already are on the podium. The older Yaoyorozu replied, waving her hand at her daughter, making the two teens realize that it was true. It's a shame that my brat lost his fight. It would be awesome to be a part of this cool mothers club, Mitsuki said with a grin, but Izumi looked a bit sad. Where is Katsuki-kun, by the way? I didn't see him all day. Inko asked, looking to her friend. I don't know. Probably sulking in some dank corner like a lil bitch, the bombastic blonde replied. Mitsuki. You shouldn't say it like that. You should find him and cheer him up. The green-haired mother said sternly. It was something that she did extremely rarely. Okay. Geez, don't get so angry on my ass. Hey Yaoyorozu-san. Can I come with my brat to that party too? I would like to smear all that I told you, feeling in his face by going to the winner's celebration. Mitsuki asked with a grin, visibly happy at the idea. Of course. You can even tell him that it's a formal attire kind of event. Maya replied happily with a thumbs up. Nice. See you in a bit. I have a lil bitch to hunt down. The blonde woman hollered at the angry look her friend gave her and went to find her son. Was that Bakugo's mother? Momo asked unsure. Yes, Izumi replied, without any further need for explanation. So that's why he is so abrasive. The black-haired teen replied absent-mindedly. Yes. Once again the still lying in bed Greenette said. Okay. Never mind that. Mom, you will need to ask Principal Nezu if he will allow our whole class to go off campus. And Zuko can't really go with us in a limousine. Some transport will be needed. Momo said, turning to her mother. Oh, don't worry about that, Yaoyorozu-kun. All of them jumped when a cherry voice replied to her. The small white-furred rodent in a classy suit walked seemingly out of nowhere and joined the conversation. Principal? Where did you even come from? The black-haired teen reacted immediately, looking to the place she thought he entered from. I don't see why you all shouldn't get a bit of relaxation before the rest of the school year. And as for Night-san's transport, Powerloader could go with you all as a supervising teacher. Nezu continued, ignoring the question. That would be marvelous. Thank you, Nezu-kun, Maya happily said, hugging the white chimera like a stuffed toy. Mom. Panicking, Momo forcefully took the principal from her mother's embrace and gently placed him back on the ground. I'm extremely sorry for my mother, Principal Nezu, she said, gently patting and straightening the small rodent's suit. Ha ha ha, don't worry, Yaoyorozu-kun. Things like that happen surprisingly often, he replied, but backed up a step anyway. Inko-chan. You need to come too. It's going to be so much fun, the older Yaoyorozu proclaimed, still with a giant smile. Oh. I don't know, Maya-san. I don't think I will be able to go to your home by train and I don't have a car. Inko replied, but received only a radiant smile back. Don't worry, I'll just send a limousine for you, or just give you a car if you want, that way you will be able to visit me any time, Maya said happily, surprising nearly all of the gathered people. Momo just face-palmed, knowing that her mother's favorite way of resolving problems was just throwing money at it until it worked itself out. The limousine, please. There is no way I could receive a whole car just like that. Inko replied, shocked. She would decline the limousine too, but her fellow mother threw her for a loop. Oh, and that whole formal dress code was just a joke. You can wear anything you want and are comfortable with. The raven-haired woman added, still all giddy. Looking at the screen, Izumi saw that the last fight was already nearly finished. She reached for a remote and increased the volume a bit. Tokage was attacking her opponent like last time, changing into a tornado of limb parts. Uraraka was somehow able to defend a bit better than Kirishima, twisting and contorting herself like a gymnast. She escaped her opponent's grasp a few times already. Some of the Tokage's parts were floating around, as if they weren't able to go straight. Suddenly Uraraka took hold of the arm that struck her in the abdomen and ran to the border of the ring. Just as she was about to touch it to the ground to get her opponent disqualified, the limb in her grasp split at the place she was holding it and flew away, leaving the girl near the line. Turning around, she didn't have any time to react as a literal wall of body parts crashed into her and pushed the gravity-defying girl out of bounds. Uraraka Ochako is out of bounds. The victory in this match goes to Tokage Setsuna, Izuku's deep voice announced, with Midnight cheering for her niece. It's already over? Momo asked, surprised. To be completely honest, Uraraka would pose more of a challenge to her than this Tokage girl seemed to. Dear listeners, our 4 semi-finalists have been decided. After half an hour for them to rest, we will continue with the fights. The first will be between the surprisingly powerful Midoriya Izumi and our ready-for-anything inventor, Shield Melissa. Present Mike's voice sounded, while the screen showed the winner of the round with her aunt pestering Izuku about something. The steel giant reached out to the two a bit reluctantly and let them both sit on his arm. Seeing that Momo had a sudden urge to slap a fellow woman. In the second match, our Princess of Creation, who apparently can march through flames like a badass, Yaoyorozu Momo versus the elusive Tokage Setsuna. The voice hero continued, with the two girls on Izuku's arm waving to the crowds with a smile. Mo-chan. You are denting the bed, Maya said casually with a knowing smile, causing the two Grenites to look to the black-haired teen. Momo released the handrail of Izumi's bed that she had gripped unconsciously, and cringed a bit seeing that she in fact left an imprint of her fingers. Holy! How strong are you, Momo-san? Even if it's a pipe, it's still made from steel, Izumi asked, shocked, mentally comparing how much Ofa she would need to use to achieve the same effect. Oh, she is really strong. I don't know how, but her quirk mutated in a major way from mine and Takahashi's. The black-haired mother gushed over her small girl. Oh, it's like Izumi's too. But hers is apparently a straight mutation of mine. It still amazes me that telekinesis can be so powerful. Inko butted in, remembering how Melissa's father explained her daughter's quirk. With the two mothers starting again to tell stories about their children between themselves, The two girls' sweat dropped after realizing they were forgotten. Old Edward chose this moment to arrive with the food, gaining the immediate gratitude of both young girls. Looking for her son, Mitsuki didn't really expect to find him looking like a beaten dog on a bench behind the stadium. He was sitting motionless with his head in his hands, looking to the ground. It was clear from his scuffed clothing that he didn't bother to go to the nurse. "Oi, brat." She called out to him, but he didn't even react. Seated beside him, she looked her son over again. He never acted so depressed. Even when he broke his hand and couldn't use his quirk for 3 months. "Katsuki, how are you feeling?" She changed her tune a bit, getting a reaction out of him at last. "I fucking lost," he replied, with a small voice. "And, you can't expect to win all the time. You underestimated your opponent, just don't do that again," she said back, trying not to sound like an ass. "I lost Wilda. Izumi won. She was always chasing behind me, and now I can only see the dust after her," he said again, not looking at his mother. "Don't you worry, I'm sure she still will want to go on a date with you," she replied smirking, but was a bit puzzled seeing her son flinch at that. "What date? What are you talking about?" he asked, this time looking to Mitsuki. "Oh, don't be like that. You two practically grew up together. We even set up bets with Inko on when you two are going to get together. You need to speed up your game or someone is going to sweep her from under your nose," she replied with a laugh, but it died after a short while when she saw his expression. "We haven't been friends for a long time now, Mom," he replied looking to the ground, the blonde woman's jaw nearly unhinged from his words. He didn't call her in that way for years. "What? Why? What happened? Why didn't both of you tell us anything?" she asked one thing after another, not understanding what he was talking about. It's all my fault. At the beginning I just wanted to keep her safe, to change her mind from becoming a hero. You know, when she was diagnosed as quirkless." He started, the way his voice started to crack made her really worried. "But she wouldn't listen. Always going on about being a hero, so we started to bully her. I started to bully her. After some time it just became a norm. I would just shout at her that it was impossible to become a hero as a quirkless and powerless weakling. We even fought about that and I never held back." Katsuki continued, with dread rising in his mother's chest. "I was enraged at the beginning of this year. I thought that she mocked me, because suddenly she had a quirk and a damn powerful one at that. But then that quirkless blondie said Izumi never was like her to begin with. That's because of the trauma from the environment. She never activated her ability. I checked on the internet and there are quite a few cases like this documented already. It's all my fault, Mom," he said, sobbing at the end. Mitsuki was speechless. She knew that her way of raising a child wasn't the best, but to hear from her own son that he bullied the daughter of her own best friend. "Katsuki. It's all right, everything will be fine. It's good that you know you were at fault. We will go there and you will beg for forgiveness. It can't repair what you have done, but it is at least a start," she said, hugging him from the side. "No, Mom, it won't be all right," Katsuki said, shaking her off. He stood up and started to pace around with clear distress on his face. The quirkless girl that Shield talked about in her speech, it was Izumi, and the old friend, it was me," he shouted, gripping his hair. His mother looked at him with big eyes, not wanting to believe what she heard. What if she were to really jump? I don't know why I told her that, it just happened. And then when she saved me from that shitty slime villain, I just shouted at her like a fucking psycho, instead of thanking her for saving my worthless life. How can I ever ask for forgiveness?" he cried out, falling to his knees and crying. Mitsuki sat at the bench, not knowing what to do. Her own son just confessed to being a tormentor of the sweetest girl she ever knew. Grief, sadness, rage, and every other feeling mixed in her, but seeing her distressed child was breaking her heart. Walking up to him, she fell to her knees beside him, hugging him with all the strength she had. "You fucking moron. If you were anyone else I would strangle you with your own intestines," she started, still hugging him. "But you are my moron. We will think of something. Izumi isn't the one you should fear. She is too sweet to hold a grudge, even if from what you told me she has all the rights to." she continued, with Katsuki wailing in her arms. He hugged her back for the first time in a decade, but she was hoping it would be in a happier time. I will beg for forgiveness from Inko with you. At least I'll buy you enough time to run if she snaps. A wet snort of laughter from her kid was all she got in response. Hugging him like this, she looked to the sky in hope that all of this could be solved peacefully. Chapter 23. May, leave Izuku's arm alone. He will need it later. Melissa yelled at the pink-haired goblin who tried to open a big crate holding the remains of the limb and the antenna that Mirko ripped off. He can make a new one easily. I just want to disassemble it and learn all the juicy secrets it is holding. The pinkette yelled back, still trying to pick the lock. Leave Papa's parts alone or I'm going to use a taser. A small round distressed drone shouted at the girl who didn't heed that warning either. I don't know why you're shouting like that. I just want to ABABABABABA. Hatsume started, but Luna didn't hesitate and fired off her devastating attack. 2 needles connected to thin wires shot out from small ports under the vertical sensor array. An electric current of around 50,000 volts followed just after, causing the pink-haired girl to spasm a little before she fell to the ground foaming from her mouth. Luna. That's going too far. Melissa looked at the little round body of her daughter with wide eyes. Sorry. I panicked. The remorseful tone of her daughter's voice clearly showed that it was true. Don't worry, baby. Things like that happen some ababa. May rose like a zombie, apparently not getting too affected by the paralyzing attack. Luna jerked in the air frightened, and sent another shock to the still-connected Hatsume. Cut it out already, Melissa said, using a broomstick to yank out the taser needles from the pinkette's arm. May, out of the workshop, ask Izuku if you can look over his arm first. She started pointing to the door, seeing that the crazy inventor shrugged off the attacks like it was nothing and once again sat up like a puppet pulled up by strings. She decided not to think too deeply about this phenomenon. Hatsume sometimes just ignored physics as if it were a mere suggestion, and the blonde inventor didn't want to get a headache about that now. Luna, please check if the refitting was done and the charge level of the VPCs. She turned to her daughter's body that currently floated behind her. It looked as if the small drone was using her mother as a shield to get away from the pink gremlin. Ah. Don't be like that. I just want to see how it's working. Or how was it able to withstand attacks from Mirko and not from Madero? Madara. Midno. That green-haired one. Hatsume begged, giving up for now on trying to open the crate. Ask Izuku. If he allows it, you can even take it for yourself, but it's his decision, she replied, but added the last part immediately after seeing the happy expression the pink-haired girl made. Mother, the javelin is ready for deployment in Colossus configuration. Armor plating was installed successfully, fuel is at full capacity, and the same for vanadium power cells. Luna reported, getting a radiant smile from her mother. Even if her power suit was put together in under 2 weeks, the design process began over 3 years ago. The main problem was the power source, which Izuku managed to mostly solve for her. She made it modular, with the ability to switch equipment on the fly to be better prepared for the task at hand. It could lift over 2 tons, run at a constant 60 kilometers per hour, and was a freaking weapons platform if need arises. But if Izumi were to use her quirk at the same level as in the fight with Todoroki, it wouldn't be enough. It wasn't a big problem really. Melissa wasn't an idiot and knew that there were battles one just couldn't win. Of course there always was a way, like tranquilizer darts or gases for example. But it wasn't really in the blonde inventor's style, and would leave a bad taste afterwards. Well, it didn't mean that she didn't have a few other tricks too. Going against the wielder of Ofa would provide quite a stress test for her newest baby. I need to spend less time with May around, she mumbled to herself, looking the armor over one more time. With the inspection done, she sat at one of the benches, drinking some soda and observing the TV that showed replays from the best moments in the festival so far. Right now it was showing their giant friend fighting against number 6 heroines seemingly without any problem, not even trying. Her sky-blue eyes followed every movement of his mechanical body. Being an engineer herself, she could easily pick up those small unneeded movements that every human did. A small twitch of his fingers here, unnecessarily shifting his weight around there. It was subtle, but if he were a real machine there wouldn't be any of that. The moment Mirko ripped off one of his antennas it was crystal clear that it was painful to him if one paid attention to his blinking eye. With a better angle from the camera, the moment that Izuku activated his ability was amazing. From his broad back four, long and green jets of energy emerged looking nearly like wings, and at the same time, he moved. His foot ripped out a chunk of the concrete floor from the strength he used, one of his arms winding for a straight jab that would probably deliver enough energy to decimate anything in his path. After the fight ended she saw the scene where the steel giant helped his opponent and something caught her eye. The rabbit heroine shouted something at him, with Izuku's eye lighting up, which meant he replied. It didn't look as if it was about the fight, with how irritated Mirko was. "Hey, Luna. Can you dig out some audio from that? What are they talking about?" she asked her daughter, with the small round drone in its charging dock nearby. "I don't think that's really nice to do. I don't want to make Papa angry," their daughter replied in an unsure tone of voice. "Don't worry, I'm just curious, that's all. I'm sure Izuku wouldn't mind," she replied, trying to coax her. Okay," Luna replied, getting silent for a couple of seconds. Then she recounted what she found out. Papa called her Tiger Rabbit, which really seemed to surprise Miss Mirko. She wanted him to explain where he heard that, but he said that she needs to win with him first if she wants to know. "That's strange, I never heard someone call her that," Melissa replied absent-mindedly. "Earlier Papa called her one of the best defenders of humanity. I thought that he referred to heroes, but it seems strange," Luna supplied, remembering their conversation before the fight. "Indeed. And you said that he froze before the fight too, right?" the blonde inquired. "Yes. We were talking about visiting Grandma Maya and then he asked about his opponent. I compiled a short profile for him together with a photo, and then he didn't reply to me for 3 minutes and 47 seconds after that. I insisted that he shouldn't fight, but Papa only said it was a glitch and we shouldn't worry. When I wanted to tell you and Mother Momo about it he ordered me not to do that." The artificial construct trailed off at the end, probably once again taking note of the fact that she spilled out something that she shouldn't. "Don't worry, it will stay between us." But thinking about it, Izuku did freeze up when he spotted Inko-san. He was unresponsive for a minute too, until Mo started to talk to him. She pondered aloud. "Mother, do you think that Miss Mirko reminded Papa about someone too?" Luna asked, more or less following her mom's thoughts. "It's highly probable, but I don't know why. We know that Izuku is quite old chronologically, but we don't know his actual age. Momo found him 6 years ago, and if she saw it right, the equipment surrounding Izuku could be dated to the late 20th or early 21st century, which would indicate that he could be as old as the quirks. Izuku could be even older. Maybe the government at the time captured him as a test subject because of his meta ability? It was a common occurrence at the beginning of the quirk era." Melissa started to drone on, with her daughter listening attentively. "Taking all of that into consideration, it's possible that he met someone with a rabbit heteromorphic mutation-type quirk and Mirko reminded him about that, but it would mean that there were enough quirked individuals to meet with each other at that time. Going further, mutations such as the one that Usagi Yamarumi has are extremely rare. At the end of the day, we're left with more questions than answers," she finished, tapping a finger on the work table she sat at. "It's really strange. The level of technology that Papa displays is centuries ahead of the current one. It's as if he doesn't fit in the current times at all," Luna chirped, with her small round body starting to float again. "Well, I will admit that something like time travel did cross my mind a few times. It's a really easy explanation why there is such a technological gap, and there are a few theories on how one could achieve such a thing. But the amount of energy needed would be comparable to trying to harness a supernova explosion, simply physically impossible," Melissa replied, but she suddenly remembered something. "That's unless there is a factor we don't know about. Izuku said it himself that the materials to recreate his reactor are impossible to create and nowhere to be found. What if it's some kind of element that we didn't discover yet?" the blonde inventor thought aloud, with Luna landing in front of her on the table. "Or Papa could be an alien," Luna said, surprisingly serious. "An alien?" Melissa asked, raising an eyebrow. Comparing the maps of the place that Papa was found in, there is an 86% probability that the military installation was a part of a research base named Area 51. Officially, it was a place to test new technologies, but there were a lot of stories about strange phenomena surrounding it, including UFO sightings. In the later part of the year 2019, there was an attempt at raiding the military base in search of evidence of extraterrestrial life, but it was averted before it really began. In the year 2037, the raid was repeated, and this time successfully because of the commotion caused by the appearance of quirks 10 years earlier, but there are no real records of what happened. The military decided to abandon the base and accompanying structures in favor of supporting the collapsing government at the time. There were no attempts at regaining the base after that. Luna explained. And you know all that from? The blonde asked, surprised. The internet? Her daughter asked sheepishly. Didn't I ask you not to use it? Even when using island's firewalls as protection, you are exposing yourself too much. Melissa asked sternly. I'm sorry. It's so much fun I couldn't help myself, Luna said, dejected that she had made her mother angry. Don't worry, sweetie. I'll think something out for you to be able to use it safely. Just please be extremely careful for now. Seeing her daughter's mood dropping, she replied, standing up from her seat. We will talk about this with everyone later. Let's try not to get steamrolled by a green cinnamon roll. She added with a smile, making her way to the waiting suit of armor. Are you certain that you don't want to withdraw? I'm sure the pro-heroes would understand if you did. Inko asked her daughter once again, who was just getting out of her bed in the infirmary. I'm sorry, Mom, but that's impossible. I need to give it my all, for all the people who supported me on the way here. Izumi responded, but gave her mother a tight hug. Let's go. Your fight with Mel will start in a few minutes. You still need to change into a new uniform. This one is going to fall off you if you decide to pull something like the last time again. Momo interrupted, causing the two to peel off each other. Remember what I told you, don't do that again. Recovery Girl showed up out of nowhere, smacking the young greenette over her head. I won't, I promise, Izumi replied, hiding herself behind sweating Momo. Mo-chan. Izu-chan. Let's go. Maya walked by them and grabbed the two by their arms, dragging them out of the room. Thank you for helping my daughter. Inko bowed deeply to the older woman who waved her off. It's my job, sweetie. Run along now, your daughter needs all the support she can get, Recovery Girl said, returning to her work. Feeling a bit strange for being addressed like a schoolgirl, Inko walked after the disappearing forms of the rest of the group. So, how do you think it will go? Are you going to bury Mel in the wall that surrounds the arena? Momo asked jokingly. No, I don't think I'll be able to. Maybe if I push myself to around 10%, then lifting her out of the ring would be an option. Melissa-san has too many options. She could use that lubricant dispenser again or some other ranged weaponry. She started to descend into mumbling, but suddenly she yawned really hard, nearly walking into the door of her preparation room. Momo caught her by the arm, stopping the greenette from the collision. You were healed by the Recovery Girl twice today already. It's a miracle you still have enough stamina to function, not to mention fight. If you're feeling too tired, there really isn't anything bad about withdrawing, she said, but Izumi shook her head. No, I need to do this. I've always dreamed about being here, about competing with everyone else. And now I'm in the semifinals. That's insane. The greenette replied happily, pumping herself up and entering the room to get new clothes. I wonder where Mitsuki went. Maybe she can't find her boy? Inko asked after a few seconds of silence, the three of them waiting for the greenette to finish. I'm sure she will be fine. She'll probably join us in the lounge later, Maya said, unexpectedly hugging her daughter who only looked back at her mother. Why are you looking like that at me? I was really missing you, you know. Our mansion is so empty without you. I'm half tempted to move into the dorms with you, she continued, with Momo paling from the idea. Oh, I know what you mean. Our apartment became quite empty when Izu-chan moved to the dorms too. I would love to spend more time with her like before. Inko agreed, deciding not to think about the difference in status. The door they were standing by opened, with Izumi in a fresh set of clothes coming out. Seeing an opportunity, Momo decided to escape with her friend. "Okay, let's go, Izumi," she said, and gave her mother a quick hug before grabbing her friend by the arm and going off to the entrance. "We probably should tone down on teasing them. Your daughter seems to get embarrassed really easily," Inko said to her fellow mother after the two started to walk to their seats. "I know. But it's so much fun," Maya replied, getting a sweat drop from the greenette. Just when the two of them arrived in the VIP lounge, Inko's phone let off a soft chime, with the woman fishing it out of a small purse a few seconds later. "It's from Mitsuki. She says that she found Katsuki-kun and is dragging him to the infirmary because he didn't go there after his fight. She wants to meet with me after the festival for something really important too," she read aloud, to inform her new friend. "That's a shame, but it can't be helped. The health of her boy is more important than anything. I'm really curious what the outcome of this fight, by the way. If Izu-chan uses so much power like last time, Mel-chan will be in a lot of trouble. At the same time, Mel is extremely crafty and probably has something prepared too," Maya said, excited and giddy. "I'm just hoping that they won't get hurt. Izumi already has some scars on her hands," Inko replied, looking to the ring. Izuku walked out of one of the entrances with his co-host seated on the palm of his metallic hand. He looked a bit better, still missing an arm and that one antenna, but the rest of his armored body looked clean and undamaged. The rest of the spectators picked up on this too and started to cheer for the giant, with the sexy heroine waving back in his stead. "Gentlemen and gentle ladies, welcome back after our short break," Present Mike started, getting the attention of everyone. "I hope that all of you are ready, because the last 3 fights of the tournament will happen back to back, one after another," he continued, getting a happy cheer from the audience. Without further ado, the first 2 combatants of the semifinals, an unexpected powerhouse of the festival. "Midoriya Izumi," he called, with the greenette walking out into the open. She looked a bit tired, but had a smile on her face nonetheless. "And her opponent is none other than the mad scientist who can do anything, Shield Melissa," the voice hero continued, with another cheer from the people watching. When the blonde inventor stepped out of the tunnel, the spectators paused for a moment just to start cheering louder. Even if the frame was the same, now it was armored to the maximum. From a slim and fast sprinter, Melissa turned into a walking tank that could easily survive most of the attacks. Her arms and legs were much thicker looking, with sturdy plates of armor attached. Her torso was even bulkier, with armor encompassing her head too. On the back, something resembling a mortar and a missile rack could be seen. Even with all that weight, she seemed to move without any problems, steadily walking into the ring. "Don't you think that this is a bit of an overkill, Melissa-san?" Izumi asked, sweat dropping at the sight. With a soft hiss, the face plate snapped open, revealing the smiling face of her opponent. "Oh please, there is no better kill than overkill. We both know that this is the bare minimum to stand a fighting chance against you," Melissa replied, getting a sheepish smile back. Why? Why does my little baby girl have to fight one powerful opponent after another?" Inko started to fret about her daughter, seeing the intimidating form of her opponent. "That's because your little Izu-chan is powerful too, Inko-chan," Maya replied, patting the greenette on her shoulder. She still couldn't believe in the power that the young girl displayed, when with a flicker of a finger she displaced so much air to destroy what was in essence a small glacier. "Are you two ready?" Midnight's question rang across the stadium. Her only answer was a soft clang of Melissa's faceplate closing up and a few larger discharges of green electricity from Izumi, who with a smile entered into a fighting stance. "Begin!" With her shout, the two fighters started to move immediately. From over Melissa's shoulder, a big cannon rose and aimed, with Izumi already halfway to the armored blonde. With a loud crack, the weapon fired off a concussive blast that made the charging Izumi tumble backwards nearly to the place she started from, but the greenette sprang to her feet and tried attacking again. With a whistling sound, 6 missiles shot vertically up from Melissa's back, fanning out to cover the whole ring. Exploding midair, a large amount of some kind of foam fell to the ground, covering nearly half of the fighting area. In the meantime, Izumi closed up the distance again, striking with a kick straight to Melissa's chest. The armored blonde staggered back, trying to take a few steps away, but her opponent was much faster. With a move similar to the one Mirko did, Izumi jumped onto her opponent's shoulders and tried to rip off the gun that struck her earlier. Seeing what the green-haired girl was trying to do, Luna, being in control of the subsystem, swiveled the gun in the direction it was pulled. Izumi lost her grip and flailing fell off the blonde straight into the grasp of one of the armored hands. Melissa didn't wait for anything and spun around, throwing her opponent with as much strength as it was possible. Izumi panicked for a second, once again flailing her arms wildly and trying to regain a bit of control over her flight. Seeing that a meeting with the concrete floor was inevitable, she braced herself and with a grunt skidded into one of the places covered in foam. She immediately got to her feet, trying to ascertain what the strange substance did. Some of it got into her mouth when she was tumoring, and it had a heavily metallic taste. Muahahaha. You activated my trap card, Izumi. Melissa called out joyfully, causing a bit of worry in the greenette. She tried to get out of the apparent trap, only to freeze up after 3 steps. She felt a bit of pain and immediately understood what was happening. In the corner of her field of vision, she saw the back end of one of the rockets sticking out of the concrete, sparking with electricity. Looking back at her opponent, Izumi saw that the big barrel of the concussive cannon once again aimed at her. With the place she was standing in now and without any way to brace for the impact, she would be sent out of bounds without a doubt. She couldn't afford that. Everyone cheered for her. All Might himself said that he was proud of her. Straining to the absolute maximum, she tried to move, but the muscles locked up by the electric current didn't even budge. Seeing that she had only seconds, Izumi tried harder and harder, subconsciously raising the output of her quirk. Seeing the eyes of the immobilized girl, Melissa was truly amazed. The drive that she showed and the sheer strength of will to do the things she did was nothing less than awe-inspiring. Just before firing the finishing shot, the blonde inventor's eyes widened, with her opponent starting to move even when subjected to an electrical current that would leave a normal person paralyzed and in pain for a couple of minutes. The concussive cannon fired off, pushing everything in its path away. Everything except Izumi, who in the last second struck the concrete under her feet with enough force to bury her hand in it. She was looking ragged, her uniform scuffed and torn in a few places. Breathing heavily, she knelt in the spot she was shot at, but with all the electric foam blown away, she could relax for half a second. Holy hell, what are you made of? Melissa asked, genuinely surprised, but when the kneeling girl looked at her, she felt a slight shiver go down her spine. Izumi's eyes were glowing with power, and a few sparks of green electricity were constantly flowing from the corners of her green eyes, creating an intimidating visage. With a yell, the greenette ripped out a chunk of concrete the size of a basketball and wound it up into a throw. Seeing that, Melissa instinctively covered her face just in time to get thrown to the ground by a powerful impact. The piece of concrete that was used as a projectile turned to dust from the force. Fearing that a following blow was coming, the blonde inventor scrambled to her feet just to discover that Izumi didn't move from her spot. From the hand she used as an anchor to stay in the ring, blood started to seep out, dripping to the ground and forming a small puddle. Her head was slightly tilted forward, covering her face in the cascade of green hair that was frazzled from the concussive cannon treatment. Izumi? Melissa asked after a few seconds had passed, getting slightly worried about her friend. She is unconscious. Her body is too tired to function properly, Izuku announced, stepping closer to the ring at the same time. He reached out and allowed Midnight to step onto it. The sexy heroine walked over to the motionless greenette, bending slightly to inspect her face. Midoriya-chan? She asked, after seeing that her eyes were cracked open. With a soft snore being her only reply, Midnight smiled and raised her flogger high. Midoriya, Izumi is unable to continue. The winner is Shield Melissa, she announced, with the surprised blonde walking closer. Is she all right? Melissa asked, with her face plate opening once again. She has a few bigger bruises, 2 cracked fingers, and a bit of damage to muscle tissue from overstressing it. The medical team will be here in half a minute for pickup, Izuku replied after scanning their friend. What an exchange, dear listeners. Shield Melissa once again comes out on the top. Is there anything that can stop that girl? Present Mike's voice sounded from the speaker systems, pumping the already cheering spectators even more. Don't worry, Inko-chan. Your little girl was amazing. Maya hugged her new friend from the side, seeing that the greenette was seconds away from crying. Izu-chan. The green-haired mother wailed, with a comical torrent of tears starting to go down her face. The black-haired woman looked at Inko with fascination as a small puddle of water was already forming on the ground. With the arena cleared and patched up, President Mike spoke once again. As promised, the second round of the semifinals will start now. In the first corner, the unstoppable to this point Princess of Creation, Yaoyorozu Momo. In the second corner, the elusive Tokage Setsuna. He announced with the two girls walking to the ring. Seeing how slim her opponent was, grinned. It would be quite easy to drag her out of bounds if she could get a good grip. Hey princess, is it true that you and the big guy over there are together? She asked in a friendly tone, curious about such a strange relationship. We are, yes, Momo replied with gritted teeth. Why is everyone was so interested in that? Huh. That's neat. How are you gonna bone thou? The green-haired girl asked with a smile. We what? The raven-haired girl exclaimed, flushing red from the implications. Tokage, I would appreciate it if you didn't try to meddle in our personal lives. Are you two ready? Izuku spoke up, with his co-host laughing on his hand. Begin. Getting two affirmatives to the question, Midnight started the fight with a crack of her whip. Setsuna immediately split herself into over 20 parts and flew straight at her opponent. It looked as if Momo froze up, judging by the bright red face and the fact that the raven-haired girl didn't move from her spot. Grinning widely, Tokage gripped her opponent under the arms and tried to lift her out of bounds. Keyword tried, as Momo still didn't budge from her spot, not even paying attention to the greenette. The hell? Did you anchor yourself to the ground or something? You're like a statue, Setsuna said with a strained voice, still trying to at least drag the ravenette. Yes, Momo replied, not really wanting everyone to know that her body was much heavier than normal. Getting out of her stupor, Setsuna changed her tactic. Once again beginning a tornado of body parts, she started to kick and punch her opponent all over, but it seemed that the black-haired girl had made an armor underneath her clothes because it felt like striking into a wall. Suddenly a brief flash of light caught the greenette's attention. In the hands of her opponent a large net with weights on the ends materialized. Trying to avoid getting caught, Setsuna scattered away from the ravenette, but around 1/3 of her body parts became trapped and nearly unusable. How? The green-haired girl tried to attack once more, seeing that Momo picked up the net as if it were light as a feather and threw it out of bounds. Tokage Setsuna is out of bounds. Yaoyorozu Momo wins, Midnight announced, clearly not too happy about her niece being beaten in such easy-looking way. Dear listeners, we have our final two fighters. Who will receive the golden medal of this year's UA Sports Festival? President Mike shouted extremely loud but returned to his normal volume midway. You have a microphone. Why are you using your quirk? Aizawa asked, clearly irritated with the antics of his co-host. Party pooper. Please welcome Shield Melissa back into the ring. The voice hero bounced back immediately after getting interrupted. With Momo staying in the ring, Melissa walked out of the tunnel. She was still wearing the same armor, but the rocket launcher was taken off for this fight. In its place was a large container connected to a nozzle on her right arm by a few hoses. That was fast, Mo. I nearly didn't have enough time to change out my equipment, Melissa said, her helmet opening. Then I was too slow it seems, Momo replied, smiling to her friend. You won't win so easily this time. This armor is much stronger than MK1 ever was. The blonde laughed, closing her armor back up. Are you two ready? Midnight asked, getting two confirmations back. Begin. The sexy heroine shouted, with a deafening crack of the concussive cannon firing immediately following. Momo grunted from the force that impacted her torso, but unlike Izumi, she just staggered back a step. From her left palm, a weighted staff appeared. This time instead of a normal steel color it had a black luster to it. With visible strain from the weight of the weapon, Momo sprinted to the armored blonde. Expecting that outcome, Melissa aimed with the nozzle on her arm. A bullet made of water flew out of it, surprising the Ravenette, who reflexively blocked it with her staff. To her growing confusion, it looked like normal water, even if it packed quite a punch. Momo's eyes widened when more of those water bullets flew at her, using her staff like before she blocked all of them, soaking herself in water in the process. Taking a stance, the blonde inventor prepared herself for a brawl. Her friend would certainly pause if she could see the grin that was plastered on her face. Striking into Melissa's guard, Momo yelped in pain as an electric torrent went through her wet body. She let go of the staff that fell to the ground with a heavy thump and retreated just in time to avoid a grab from her blonde friend. Melissa followed after her, just for one of her armored legs to comically slip out from under her. With a loud crash, she fell flat on her back, immediately spotting that a sea of large ball bearings was strewn between her and the Ravenette. Seeing that Momo just finished creating a set of gauntlets and armored boots like in her fight with Monoma, the blonde inventor decided to use everything she could. With a roar, a large thruster ignited on her back, pushing her back to her feet in a haunting way. Tightening her fists, she heard the soft whine of the rest of her thrusters priming. It was a weirdly satisfying sound. Grinning wildly, she fired off the concussive cannon again, aiming it at the ground. The small steel balls were blown away, striking a shield that Momo created for herself after seeing where the cannon was aimed. The raven-haired girl had only half a second after the attack to dodge, her only warning being the sound of Melissa's armor closing in. With a crunch, the simple steel riot shield folded in half. Thankfully, Momo managed to ignite her own rockets in time and was already a few meters away. She was about to land, but another crack from Melissa's cannon resounded, sending her out of control. With the rocket engines firing wildly around her body, she barely managed to stabilize herself when a stream of water bullets struck her and this time sent her to the ground in a heap. Standing up, she glared at her opponent, who started to walk in her direction. Suddenly Melissa stopped, seeing that angelic smile of her bestie was back in full force. Suddenly Momo's stomach started to glow, with a long barrel coming out. "Oh! Don't you dare!" The weary voice of the blonde inventor could be hard, a bit distorted by the speaker system of the suit. "Oofufu. I believe we should test your suit thoroughly, Melissa-chan." The Ravenette laughed, taking a good hold of her creation. A 40mm autocannon was resting in her hands, already trained on her opponent, who entered a defensive stance. Momo braced herself and fired round after round of hard rubber bullets straight into the blonde's body. It wasn't enough to damage the armor, but its operator certainly could feel the heavy impacts in great succession. Standing her ground, Melissa grit her teeth from the extremely uncomfortable feeling bordering on pain. Using the momentary stalemate, Luna slowly moved the concussive cannon into place, waiting for an opportunity. Synchronizing with her other mother's attacks, she fired off right when the recoil of the autocannon was the strongest. With a surprised yell, Momo fell backwards from the combined forces, the weapon in her hands falling to the ground with a loud thud. Capitalizing on it, the armored blonde used her thrusters to close the gap between them. With the raven-haired girl picking herself in time, the two locked their hands, trying to push one another. Seeing that she was a few centimeters from the border of the ring, Momo strained herself not to get pushed away by the massive power armor before her. "Ha! I have the upper hand," Melissa exclaimed happily, using the stun function of her gauntlets. Seeing that it didn't do anything, she decided to just push her opponent out of bounds and raised the output of her armor to maximum. With sweat starting to go down her face, Momo ignited her elbow rockets, stopping the armored blonde and even pushing her back. 2-meter-long plumes of fire stabilized for a few seconds into supersonic shock diamonds with a roar. Once again, the blonde inventor was reminded how powerful and amazing people with quirks were. With a grin on her face, she ignited the thrusters on her own armor too, once more straining to push her opponent out of bounds. With luck on her side, one of her bestie's gauntlets jerked with a loud pop, and instead of the immense thrust, it provided only a thick cloud of smoke and flames. Losing her balance, Momo took a step back, bracing herself once more. "Yaoyorozu Momo is out of bounds. Shield Melissa wins," Midnight announced, surprising the Ravenette. Looking down, she saw that the foot she used to regain balance was in fact just beyond the line. "I won! I won!" The armored blonde yelled happily, raising her arms up in celebration. With her helmet opening up, everyone could see the radiant smile on her face. We have the winner of our one-year sports festival, dear listeners. The first place goes to Shield Melissa, Present Mike announced. Ah, I was hoping that Mo-chan would win, Maya said, observing how both girls went back into their entrances to change into fresh clothes. Both of them are amazing. It was a bit scary when Momo-chan created that big gun, but it was fun to watch too. Inko replied. She would be with her daughter now, but Recovery Girl said that it was only exhaustion and Izumi needed to rest in peace because of the award ceremony at the end. Your daughter was amazing too. It's a shame she was too tired to fight with Mel, but she certainly showed what she could do. The raven-haired mother said, patting Inko on the shoulder. With this final fight, our sports festival came to a close. The voice hero started. Let us greet our winners. In the third place, Midoriya Izumi and Tokage Setsuna. The two called-out girls walked onto the stadium's floor, standing together on the podium. Izumi yawned a few times, but otherwise didn't show too much fatigue. The second place, Yaoyorozu Momo. With ovations from the spectators, the raven-haired girl walked to her respective place. And the first place, Shield Melissa. The announced blonde inventor walked out into the open, now too in the normal gym uniform like her peers. Izuku let his co-host get to the ground, allowing her to walk in front of the podium. This year our award ceremony will be performed by the newest member of UA's faculty. Please welcome the number one hero, All Might. To her words, the hero in question appeared in a gust of wind, as if materializing just beside her. Ha 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 ha. It's me, with medals. The giant man laughed heartily, showing the four-mentioned medals in his hand. With his appearance, the whole stadium shook from the cheering crowds. Walking up to the third-place podium, he reached out to Tokage first. A really good show off your abilities, young lady. All the pro heroes were talking about how hard to use your quirk seems to be, he said, placing the bronze medal on her neck. Thank you, All Might. The young girl said, happily looking at her prize. Young Midoriya, your tenacity and drive to give your all really speak about you. The world certainly knows that you are here. It was the first time I saw someone falling asleep in the middle of the battle too. Toshinori laughed a bit, placing the trophy on his successor's neck. Izumi blushed a bit, but gently gripped her medal and shedding a few happy tears smiled to her mentor. Thank you, All Might Sensei, she said, still smiling brilliantly. Young Momo. I'm certain your parents are extremely proud of you, and your giant friend is there too. All the pro heroes were extremely surprised at how inventive you were in the use of your quirk, turning it into a formidable force. As your unofficial uncle, I'm proud too, of course. He stated with a wide smile, getting one back. Thanks, Uncle Might. She replied with a smile, and our winner, young Melissa. I'm certain that David can't contain his joy from what you achieved today. Mary would be the proudest mother right now too. I need to admit that with my experience in the field, there were some doubts in me about whether someone would be able to become a hero without strong powers. Today you showed it to all of the people who were watching that it's the drive and dedication that really matter. Today is the first time a quirkless person won with quirked individuals using the fruits of their own hard labor. All Might said proudly, with a bit softer but more genuine smile. He placed the golden medal on Melissa's neck, who jumped up and gave him a fierce hug. Thank you, Uncle. She replied softly, getting a hug back. Toshinori placed 7THHER back on the ground and turned to the spectators. This is a historical moment. Let this be a reminder for us all that it isn't important what someone's quirk can do. The only thing that truly matters is to have your heart in the right place. All Might stated, getting a cheer from the audience. The newest generation of heroes is truly amazing. Today it was those four that reached the top, but with determination and hard work everyone competing today could be in their place in the future, he said with a flourish. I have only one thing to say after this amazing performance. This school's motto describes it well. Go beyond. Plus ultra. He shouted, raising one of his fists up high. Chapter 24. With a groan, Momo reached out from under her covers to the irritating sounds of her alarm clock to make it stop. Seating up, she stretched her back, still a bit sore after the festival. When the award ceremony ended, everything became a rather hectic blur. All of their classmates congratulated the three of the finalists. Momo's and Azumi's mothers hugged the life out of them too. Everyone cheered after hearing about the party that Maya had planned, totally hyped about going out of campus for some fun. Looking into a large mirror on the doors of her wardrobe, she grimaced seeing the state her hair were in. Sticking in all directions without any order, it would take some effort to tame that bedhead like always. After all of her morning rituals were done, she tried to decide what to wear. Standing before the open wardrobe, she took one of the hangers to inspect it, and after a few seconds put it back. I wonder what Zuko would like. She thought aloud, absent-minded, catching herself on it. They were in a relationship, at least a pretended one. It wouldn't hurt to put some effort into it, right? Accompanied by such thoughts, she completed her attire. A red shirt with white stripes and a pair of black jeans were casual enough in her opinion. It certainly helped that the outfit was tight enough to show her body of a little. Walking to the common room, it was rather quiet. Only the ever-strict Iida was in the kitchen making some food. His casual clothes looked nearly identical to his school uniform, only the colors were different. "Good morning, Iida-san," she greeted, going up to the counter to start on her own breakfasts. "Good morning, Yaoyorozu-san. You still look a bit tired, are you all right?" the stiff boy asked, not pausing in whatever he was doing. "Yes, I just need to start moving a little. Normally I would be all ready after my morning run, so I guess I'm a bit stiff because of that," she replied, setting the kettle on the stove. It's good that she learned all of this from old Edward before coming to the dorms. It would be awkward not knowing how to operate kitchen appliances. "Ah, I understand. Sometimes my engines are sluggish if I'm not throttling them for longer periods of time," the blue-haired teen replied, putting his meal onto a plate. Hearing the jingle of the front door bell, they both saw Izumi in her tracksuit entering the building. She was sweating quite a lot, visibly drained after a workout. "Good morning, Midoriya-san. I didn't know you went for a run," Iida greeted, getting a tired smile in return. "Good morning, Iida-san, Momo-san. With our little excursion today, I decided to make my training a bit more taxing to compensate," Izumi replied, heading to the elevator. She locked eyes with Momo for a few seconds, but smiled a bit in the end before continuing to her room. That action wasn't random. With what happened after the festival between Midoriya's and Bakugo's, Momo and Melissa were present when Mitsuki walked up to the both Grenites with her son in tow. It was a rather strange sight, with Katsuki looking like a beaten dog. No bite, no barking. His head lowered as if awaiting the punishment. The blonde mother slowly explained what her son revealed to her, Izumi paling as if it was all her fault. After she ended her explanation, she pushed her son to the ground, kneeling herself before Inko in a dogiza. Izumi immediately went to her aunt and friend to help them back up, just to be stopped by her own mother. The older Greenette was shaking a bit, with her green eyes burning into the young man prostrating before her. All the times her little girl returned home with destroyed and scuffed clothes, how she accidentally lost her notebooks or books. All the times when she saw her sweet daughter smiling through tears after returning home, just secluding herself into that small room to escape and watch her beloved heroes. Everything suddenly made much more sense. Inko had an urge to yell, to shout at her best friend's son. She knew that Mitsuki didn't know about that, because she would immediately correct that behavior and Katsuki would certainly remember such lesson. But at the same time she felt cold fury bubbling just beneath her skin, threatening to boil over. Not wanting to make a scene, she ordered the two to get up, boring holes into the young man with her gaze. For the first time from that accursed slime villain incident, Bakugo Katsuki felt slowly rising fear in himself. He could swear that the green-haired mother's eyes were dimly glowing green. If her gaze would grow even a bit more intense, he would catch fire. Inko stayed silent for a few more seconds, but after that she spoke with finality. "You are going to say exactly the same thing to your teacher, or principal, or someone in charge here. Explain to him what you did in detail and accept all the punishment you will receive. You are trying to become a hero but are acting like a thug or a villain. Aren't heroes supposed to defend the weak? To help them? You certainly are far from that. she said, surprising everyone but her old friend with the amount of venom and spite that was in her tone of voice. I believe that you didn't know anything about this, Mitsuki, but I'm angry at you too right now. We will talk about this later, she said to her friend, who nodded solemnly, once again pushing her son into a deep bow. Katsuki didn't protest or say anything, accepting his fate. Hey Mo, whatcha eating there? Melissa sat near the Ravenet, who was deep in thought. Seeing an opportunity, the blonde girl snatched her plate and started to munch on a piece of toast. Mel, go make yourself your own breakfasts. Momo took her food back, glaring at her friend. Melissa was looking as if she just got up from her bed. Her hair were an even bigger mess than the black-haired girl's when she herself woke up. You stayed the whole night up again? She asked, seeing that the blonde inventor just flopped onto the table. I slept more than 3 hours. Melissa replied, her voice a bit muffled from laying face first on the table. That won't do, you need to be always in the optimal condition to act as a hero, Tenya said, joining the conversation. He's right, you know, what if a villain attacks and you are too tired to properly act? Momo agreed with her classmate, biting into the next toast. Their only reply was a loud snore from the blonde inventor. Did she fall asleep right now? The speedster asked, surprised. Waving him off, Momo continued to munch on her meal. It's normal for her, leave her be for around 20 minutes and she will be good as new. Mel really mastered the art of power naps, she explained between the bites. That's extremely unhealthy to her body. Shield-san should immediately return to her room to rest before our excursion. Iida started to chastise, chopping air with his arms like usual. Oh, I told her that many times, she just doesn't listen. It's only worse that most of the time she eats only junk food in her inventing mood. The Ravenet replied, finishing her food. Iida looked flabbergasted, as if he couldn't believe what he heard. A few of their classmates decided to come down too, all of them in casual clothing ready to go out. Looking to a clock on the wall, the raven-haired girl saw that they had around an hour for the limo to arrive. Walking to the back entrance, she wanted to go to see what her big friend was up to but was intercepted by a pink devil before she could. Heya, Yao Momo. Are you going to see Izuku? I'm going too, Mina said, already falling in step beside her. Just so you know, I'm still mad at you for the stunt you pulled, Momo replied, glancing at the sheepish-looking girl. I know, sorry about that. I promise I'll behave from now on, the pinkette replied, crossing fingers behind her back. You better, the Ravenet said, narrowing her eyes. Knocking at the doors of Izuku's home. The two waited for a few seconds but there was no answer. Knocking once more, Momo gently pushed the doors, peeking inside. Zuku? Are you here? She asked, stepping inside. The room was rather big, but without too much decorations. There were only a few pieces of furniture, like an oversized bench for the Titan to sit on and a table in similar size. A few normal chairs were in the corner too, for any visitors he could have. Looking around, it was hard for the raven-haired girl to call this space a home. It was giving more of a feeling similar to a garage or a hangar. A small round drone rose from its charging dock on the large table and floated to the two girls. Hello Mom. Hello Auntie Mina. Are you searching for Papa? Luna asked in a really happy tone of voice. Yes, we are. Do you know where he is? I thought he would be repairing the damages from yesterday, Momo replied, with her daughter landing gently in Mina's outstretched arms. Oh, Papa finished his repairs around 2 in the morning and went to his workshop, the artificial construct stated, looking to her mother. Wait, when did he get a workshop? And what is he even doing there if he finished healing up? Mina asked, but her friend only shrugged her shoulders. Papa requested one from Principal Nezu yesterday before the third event of the festival began. He is making a. Luna said, even more happy than before, but trailed off at the end. Is it something he asked you to not tell anyone about again? Momo asked with a knowing smile. Maybe. The small drone replied, looking away. Mina, who was holding it, giggled at the sight. You can tell us, Luna. I'm sure that Izuku wouldn't mind, the pinkette said happily, turning the little drone so its sensors would look at her. No, Papa would certainly be mad at me if I say something again. You won't get anything out of me about the Valkyrie, Luna replied, making a huffing sound from apparent irritation. Okay, but can you lead us to your papa then? Mina asked, sending a cheeky smile to Momo. Oh, I can. But only if you show me more of those memes, Auntie. Mother Melissa said that I shouldn't directly interface with external networks for now because it's not safe, but I think that watching it on the screen should be okay. Luna happily chirped and started to slowly float out of the building. Wait, you aren't showing her anything inappropriate, right? Momo asked wearily. PFF'd, of course not. Only the best of the best with ya girl Mina the meme lord over here. The pinkhead replied happily, skipping beside her. Walking into the giant hangar belonging to the support course, the two girls immediately spotted a flatbed truck similar to the one Izuku rode after the USJ incident. This time it had something looking like a seat on it, with handles to hold on to. Is Izuku going to travel on this? The people in town are going to flip. Mina commented, looking over the custom trailer. Well, he won't fit into any conventional vehicle, Momo replied with a hint of sadness. We should build him one, so he can drive for himself. Like a motorcycle or something. It would be so cool looking. The pinkhead exclaimed, grinning at the idea. That isn't a bad idea, to be completely honest, the raven-haired girl said with a contemplative look. Oh, Papa would be so cool on a motorbike. Like the ones in the movies from old America, with long steering handles and loud engines. Mother Melissa showed me a few when I was still learning. Luna happily said, turning around and flying backwards to look at her mother. Just before they could get to a large set of doors, they opened by themselves and their giant friend walked out. Looking into the room, the two teenage girls saw something resembling one of Izuku's top-mounted arms with a long and rectangular device on the end. Hello. Is it already the time of our departure? I thought there still was over half an hour, the steel giant asked. I just wanted to visit you, but your place was empty. Are you feeling all right after yesterday? Momo asked, walking closer to him. All the damage was repaired successfully. Thank you for your concern, he replied, stopping in place and letting the girl walk just beside his left arm. Hey, this arm looks different than the other. Is there a reason behind that? The Ravenet asked, seeing that his forearm is a bit thicker and seemed to have moving parts in it. Oh, it's an experiment really. I'm trying to make a manipulator that uses a localized gravitational field. My own hands are precise but a bit too bulky for some delicate work, and while I could use my nanites, I'm finding joy in making things without them. Izuku explained, looking at the mentioned attachment. I'm not gonna lie, nearly all of what you said flew high over my horns, Mina said, scratching her head. Are you able to manipulate gravitational force on such a scale? That's amazing. Momo, actually understanding what was told to her, exclaimed happily. Well, yes and no, this is a work in progress. For now it can only hold small things in place. I'm having a bit of a problem with miniaturization of the field emitters, the steel giant replied. Good morning to you too. Powerloader called out to them, surprisingly wearing a white shirt and some nicer pants with his hero costume today. I'm going to move the truck to the dorms. You can go with me if you want, he said, going to the vehicle. Hey, Knight. Did you see Hatsume anywhere? She is surprisingly absent, the teacher asked, looking to the giant who sat on the trailer. She is in my workshop. May wanted to study my destroyed parts, so I gave them to her, he replied, getting onto the trailer. The excavation hero stopped for a few seconds after hearing that, contemplating something. There aren't any dangerous technologies to be found in there, right? He asked again. No, she only have my destroyed left arm and the antenna from my universal transceiver. It has a few more advanced sensors and emitters, but the power requirements should deter her from any experimentation, Izuku elaborated. Okay. Let's go then. The excavation hero called out, entering the driver's cabin by himself. The two girls entered too, with Luna in her mother's arms. I'm curious, won't you be needed for the second-year festival, Sensei? Momo asked after they started to slowly roll out of the hangar. Not really. I am the head of the support course but not the only member or teacher in it. It's a whole team of people dedicated to maintenance and repairs on the premises at all times. The teacher explained, carefully maneuvering the large vehicle. That makes sense. One person can only do so much, the raven-haired girl replied, looking out of the window to the passing scenery. This is so cool. I've always wanted to drive in one of these, Mina said excited, looking the whole cabin over. It was rather utilitarian and bare, but the ride was smooth and comfortable. What's so special about driving around in a semi-truck? Momo asked her horned friend. I dunno. Somehow I always loved those large vehicles. Maybe it's because I grew up with two brothers or something. The pinkhead answered jokingly. Is that why you always pester Zuko to let you pilot him? The raven-haired girl asked, raising an eyebrow. Maybe. The fact that he is a badass and powerful mecha certainly adds to that. Mina was going to say something more, but after they rounded a corner her jaw nearly unhinged. Before their dorms stood a really long and futuristic-looking limousine. It was large enough to fit all of their class and have much room to spare. Oh, Mom sent my own car it seems. It's a bit early but I guess we can just enjoy the ride for a few minutes more. Momo said nonchalantly, earning herself a stare from her friend. Your own car? This is the size of a bus, the pinkhead exclaimed, but got only a puzzled look back. Well, this is my largest one. Fathers are more in a classical style and Mom likes to drive around in her hypercars. Momo stated as if it was the most normal thing in the world. Mina didn't reply, just silently followed the rich girl out of the truck. We too will follow after the limousine. Please tell your driver to have that in mind. Powerloader called after them. I'll be sure to tell him that. Everyone should be ready, so we will depart shortly, Momo replied, with Luna's drone flying back to her charging port in Izuku's house. So how's your little project is coming along? The support course teacher asked the giant when the two girls entered the dorm building. I just started. Are you really expecting me to get results after a few hours? Izuku asked back. Honestly, I would be really surprised if there weren't any, Powerloader replied with a hint of amusement. You got me there. I stumbled into an issue with the propulsion system. Conventional rocket engines, while powerful, require a lot of fuel, not to mention that said fuel can be extremely volatile. Air-breathing engines have much smaller fuel requirements, but the response time is extremely slow. The best solution I found is using a set of magnetoplasma dynamic thrusters. They have the best specific impulse and could be retrofitted for space flight if need arises. The issue with that idea is the electrical power requirement, that is rather big. Izuku listed out. Wait, are you making some kind of aerial transport? The teacher asked, observing how nearly the whole Class 1A gathered near the expensive vehicle. Principal Nezu didn't inform you of what my project was about? The steel giant asked, shifting slightly in his seat. The targeting camera on his top was looking over the truck's cabin in the direction they would be driving in. Nope, he just ordered me to provide any materials you would require and cackled like a maniac. I'm pretty sure that he likes whatever idea you presented to him. The older man replied with a sweat drop, remembering his employer's antics. With the teenagers all aboard the limousine, the small convoy slowly rolled out of the school grounds through a giant security gate. Izuku looked around curiously, for the first time leaving the school premises. A long driveway extended before them, gently sloping down the hill into a large city. Driving through the town, they immediately got the attention of everyone. Some people even stopped to stare at the giant traveling on the truck. When they stopped at an intersection, a group of teenagers took a selfie with him. To their joy, the steel giant raised one of his hands to wave to them. Even if all of this was a bit overwhelming to Izuku, for some reason he felt happy seeing the carefree faces of the passerby. Looking through the window, Momo listened to how rowdy her classmates were. All of them extremely excited to get a chance to drive in one of the most expensive road vehicles in the country. Mina was trying to open the sunroof, but didn't know how with the amount of functions the remote had. She successfully managed to change the lighting inside to every possible color of the rainbow though, so there was some progress. Abara was seating by herself, with hands on her lap and closed eyes. Zero, Kaminari and Mineta were playing some games on one of the large screens while sipping soft drinks from the fridge. Kirishima, Hagakure and Jiro were listening to a playlist of songs that Melissa recovered a few years back from some derelict hard drives. Apparently the music forgotten by time was in their taste, judging from the happy expressions. Izumi, Iida, Pony and surprisingly Todoroki were seating together and talked about something hero-related. Not that Momo could hear them. Izumi's happy expression and the speed at which she was currently explaining something were enough to deduce what the topic was. Looking to her blonde friend, she saw that Melissa was tinkering with one of Luna's bodies with a screwdriver. "What are you doing?" she asked, a bit curious. "Upgrades. I'm just finishing hooking this baby up to a VPC. The battery life will jump from 3 hours to around 70. She replied, closing a panel and securing it with a few screws. After that she set the small drone straight and switched it on. "Hey sweetie, can you run a quick check on this drone for me?" Melissa asked, seeing that the connection indicators lighted up. "Of course mother. Running full system diagnostic. New power source detected, calibrating. Body status, fully operational. All systems online," Luna reported in a happy voice, raising a bit into the air. "Nice, you can stay with us for the day if you want," the blonde inventor said, stretching a bit. "Thank you." The small drone chirped and started to fly around the cabin, greeting and talking with everyone. "Hey Luna. Can you tell us about that Valkyrie thingy that Izuku is making?" Mina called out to her, giving up on her search and setting the remote aside. "Oh, what is that? I didn't hear anything about it." Melissa started to look a bit more lively after hearing that their giant friend was creating something. "No, bad auntie. I'm not gonna say anything," the small drone replied, flying away a bit. "Oh, don't be like that. I'll show you more funny memes if you tell me." The pinkette tried once more, moving a bit closer to the retreating drone. "Please stop that, Ashido-san. Come here child, I'll shield you from that pink devil," Abara called out, with Luna flying into her embrace for protection. "Hey, that's not fair. I'm offering a fair trade here," Mina laughed. "That's exactly what a devil would say." Luna's reply made all of them laugh. If I remember correctly, Valkyries were female warriors from the Norse pantheon. But that hardly tells us what Zuko is trying to create, Momo mused. "We shouldn't try to pry more information from her," Abara said, gently caressing the small drone on her lap. "If Izuku-san decided that this should remain a secret, I don't see any reason for us to try to discover it by ourselves," she finished, smiling to Luna, who was looking at her with the sensors of the drone. "Well, Principal Nezu had to give him permission if he is using school equipment and facilities. Izuku's technology is leaps and bounds away from our own. I'm extremely curious, what is he trying to create?" Melissa replied with a contemplative look on her face. With a momentary lull in conversation, Mina took out her phone and started to look through a few sites. "Hey, Izuku is in the news," she said, giggling a bit. With Melissa and Momo huddling closer, they saw an article with a photo of Izuku on his trailer. A reporter jumped out of a car and ran up to him with a microphone in hand. "Knight-san, could you tell us about your experience with Meta Liberation Army in the former United States?" the man asked, causing Izuku to look at him. "Tafadali Nenda Imbali, Sitajibu Maswali Yoyote," the giant replied, causing the reporter to stop in his tracks. With the light changing back to green, the small convoy started to move once more, leaving the dumbfounded man with the microphone behind. "What was that? What did he say?" Mina asked her friends, but both of them only shrugged. "Hey Luna, can you translate that for us?" Melissa asked. "A moment. Papa asked him to go away and said that he won't reply to any questions," the small drone explained after nearly half a minute. "Okay, but what language even was that?" the pinkette asked once more, intrigued. "Swahili," Luna replied courtly. After a few seconds passed, the small group started to laugh from the giant's antics. With another 20 minutes of travel, they arrived at the gates to the Momo's home. The security guards let the two vehicles pass immediately, some of the older ones even saluting to the steel giant. After 10 minutes more they arrived at the front door of the mansion. The building itself was enormous, easily dwarfing the dorms 10 times over. The walls were lined with intricate decorations and patterns, even a large marble fountain was in the middle of the roundabout that they were standing on right now. An army of maids and butlers stood to the sides of radiantly smiling Maya and extremely nervous Inko. "Welcome in our humble abode," the black-haired mother exclaimed happily, getting a few sweat drops from the teenagers. Izumi walked up to her mother and gave Inko a tight hug, the older woman visibly relaxing in her daughter's embrace. "I prepared a few attractions in the backyard. If you need anything, please ask one of the maids or butlers," Maya happily continued, clapping her hands together. Seeing that Izuku still didn't get off of the trailer, she skipped to his side with a questioning look. "Good morning, Maya-san," the steel giant greeted unperturbed. "Hello, Izuku-kun. I hope you aren't planning to spend our little party seating on this truck?" the older Ravenet asked with a smile. "I'm afraid that is the best solution. I don't want to damage anything in here," the Titan replied after looking around for a few seconds. "Oh, don't worry about that. I wanted to renovate this place anyway, but my husband keeps complaining that it's still in great condition. You would do me a favor by breaking a few things here and there," she continued, trying to pull him by his hand that didn't even budge from her efforts. "Maya-san, my body weight's nearly 20 tons, it can do more damage than you think," he tried to argue, moving his hand a bit to support the now panting woman. "I already told you that's okay. Just get off of this trailer and let's go already," she argued back, again trying to pull the Titan with her. "Zuku, please humor my mom for now with that, otherwise she won't stop for a really long time," Momo said, exasperated by her parents' antics. Slowly getting off from the flatbed trailer, he stood up. For some reason Maya still pulled on his hand, trying to drag him to the rest of his classmates. Following the request from his friend, he started to slowly walk after the smiling woman who held his finger as if he was going to book it if she let go of it. "Let's go. We need to celebrate the victory of you three in the festival," the happy Ravenet said, going straight to the main door of the mansion, still dragging Izuku behind her. Maya-san, I think that it would be better if I went around the mansion," the steel giant tried to protest, stopping before the marble stairs leading to the entrance. "Nonsense. I want to show you my paintings and maybe a few photos with Momo when she was really young, and—" the excited woman tried to drag him again, simultaneously talking about all the things she wanted to do. "It's it me. Or is your mom acting like a 5-year-old, ya Momo?" Mina whispered to her facepalming friend. "Auntie Maya is rather excitable. She's probably really happy about having an occasion to spend some time with her daughter's boyfriend," Melissa whispered back, giving the pinkhead a pointed look. "Oh, sorry," she whispered back with a sheepish look. "Grandma Maya, it's so good to see you this time." The small white drone flew to the now panting woman, hovering near her. "Hello, sweetie. You seem so much better than the last time we spoke. You're looking so lovely," the woman in question replied, but still was trying to drag Izuku inside. "Why are you so stubborn, Yununununu?" She took a good hold of the finger she was pulling on and with a cute cry started to pull with all her might. "Mom, don't use your quirk," Momo shouted, seeing that cracks started to appear under her mother's feet. Izuku's eye widened a bit when the force the black-haired woman exerted was much higher than a human her stature should have. Everyone's eyes bugged out when Maya's legs started to dig into the marble stairs, and what was even more impressive, Izuku's form started to slowly slide in her direction along the ground. "Maya-san, please stop. I will go with you, but please stop doing this," the steel giant pleaded, seeing that the woman was starting to steam from the rising temperature of her body. With a happy hum, the raven-haired woman stepped out of the hole she made and expectantly tugged him along one more time. For the rest of his class, it was looking a bit funny how a badass mecha like him looked done with all of this, with his shoulders sagging and antennas dropping. "Yao Momo. What the hell was that?" Mina asked, when they were walking by the messed up stairs. My mom's quirk allows her to drastically increase her body attributes, and it's fueled in a similar way like mine, but it causes her to heat up from the energy conversion process. The black-haired teen explained. Judging by her expression, it wasn't the first time her mother did something like this. Is this why your mom started to steam at the end? Isn't that extremely unhealthy? Izumi asked, pulling out a notebook and a pen out of nowhere. Not really, she is quite immune to that effect. It causes her to get extremely hot though, so standard synthetic clothes could melt or straight up catch on fire. Momo replied, raising an eyebrow at the sudden appearance of the items in her green-haired friend's hands. She already is extremely hot, Mineta commented to himself, gaining a slight nod from Kaminari. Papa said that Auntie Maya is really powerful. She even punted Uncle Might through a few concrete walls on one of the college parties when they got drunk. Melissa added, laughing at her classmates' reactions. Edward, please guide our guest to the garden. Me and Izuku-kun will join you later, Maya called out to the head butler, taking a turn into a different corridor. Should we worry? Mina asked after seeing how helplessly their big friend looked, still being dragged by the excited mother. Well, he should be all right. The worst that Auntie can do is show him the Zuku shrine, or some embarrassing photos of Mo. The blonde inventor replied, laughing at Momo's reaction. Mel, don't call it that. It's normal to have a few pictures of your missing friend. The Ravenette tried to defend herself. Yes, and a few figurines, and posters, and a whole dedicated cabinet for them. The Melissa replied, causing all of their friends to start giggling to Momo's dismay. Walking out into the gardens, a large decorated tent greeted them, with a long table for them all as the centerpiece. A few more tents were scattered all around with many activities prepared for the teens. On the side was a small relaxation area with a couple of expensive-looking deck chairs, all of them turned into the direction of a large pond with a fountain in the middle. Play nice, kids. I'm going to start my May-less day with a nice nap over there, Powerloader said, already walking to the deck chairs. My, this flower garden is looking so lovely. Would you have anything against me taking a closer look, Yaoyorozu-san? Abara asked, and with a smile walked to the mentioned garden after getting permission. Keep calm, Mom. Breathe, please. Izumi tried to ease her own mother, the poor Inko nearly fainting from the overwhelming lavishness. A purple-haired maid walked up to them, and with her help the young Greenette slowly led her mother to the same area the support course teacher already rested in. The group slowly dispersed, looking over the games and attractions that were available for them. Swinging his arms wildly all around, Iida tried to maintain some kind of order, but nobody paid him any attention. Some of them went to a games area with arcade machines ranging from classical pinball to the newest on the market virtual reality consoles. Mina dragged Pony, Jiro, Hagakure and Asui to a large dancing floor. A whole musical band was playing a slow and soft tune just for them. With a request from the Pinkhead, they picked up the pace with one of the new songs for the teens to dance to. Hey Mel, where did Luna go? Momo asked after looking around for the small drone. I think she went with your mom. I'm sure she will behave. The blonde inventor waved at Iv, going to the table with food to eat something after sleeping through the breakfast. After one more look at her joyful classmates, Momo went after her blonde friend to eat something too. Her only hope was that her mother wouldn't do something extremely embarrassing. After being led deeper into the mansion, Izuku felt really tense. The corridors luckily were large enough, but at the same time the walls were lined with expensive-looking paintings and art pieces. The occasional groan of the floor beneath his feet didn't ease him at all. It was a miracle in his mind that it could support his body anyway. Grandma, maybe we should let Papa go outside? It's really cramped in here for him, Luna asked, floating beside the happily marching onward Ravenette. She could see how the steel giant was more tense than always, with his sensors intensely scanning the environment. Don't worry about that, he could flatten this house to the ground and that still would be fine, Maya replied, waving of any concern that was presented before her. Where are we even going? Izuku asked, continuing to thread the needle in between the priceless vases and crystal chandeliers that were low enough to clip with his antennas. When Toshi returned with Momo-chan to us all those years ago, I was really happy, but our little girl was extremely sad and wouldn't talk with us at all. All she did was hug that black circlet and cry for days, not leaving her own room. the older woman said, causing the single eye of the giant to look to the ground in shame. I'm sorry that I caused so much grief to Princess. I didn't know that this would be the outcome of that fight, he said back in a small tone. Oh, don't worry, sweetie, I know that. The sole fact that you sacrificed yourself to defend her is enough for me to tell you are a good person. Maya replied, patting him on the hand she was still holding. After she did start to talk to us, you were the only subject we would hear about. She spent at least 2 years on pestering us day in and day out to search for you, which we did. She quickly learned how to use her headpiece, and sometimes I caught her looking at the image of what I assumed was you two dancing. You're a really handsome young man, by the way. I'm going to fit you into a suit by the end of the day, and you are going to dance with my daughter once more, the happy older woman announced, opening a large set of doors to reveal a small gantry and around 20 seamstresses already preparing everything. Maya-san. That's a bit too much. My frame is really big and different from a normal human. It's a waste for such a fine set of clothes. Izuku tried to protest, but after the raven-haired woman stated to pull again, he stepped into the room. Good morning, Knight-san. Please stand in the middle of the room so we can start taking measures. And don't worry. We are really experienced with fitting clothes to unusual body types. You never know how quirks will affect someone's body after all. An older-looking woman with white hair called out to him, gesturing to a place beside the metal scaffolding. Don't look at me like that, go already. We don't have all day. Maya laughed after she saw how reluctantly the steel giant acted. Grandma. I think that such clothes won't last too long on Papa's body. He has too many exposed moving parts and the fabric could snag on them. Luna said, after landing in the older woman's arms. Oh, don't worry about that. It only have to hold until the end of their dance, but that's a good point. We should cover those spots a bit so it lasts for as long as possible, she replied, seating on an armchair to wait. They are taking awfully long. Where did Auntie drag him off to? Melissa asked, after taking her turn on a billiard table. She was playing with Todoroki, who surprisingly tried to interact with them for a change, even if not talking too much by himself. Momo and Izumi were spectating while Inko was talking with Ibara about plants. The rest of their classmates were nearly everywhere, having the time of their lives with all the games and attractions. Well, maybe not all of them, as Bakugo was absent from the beginning and Mineta was now followed by 2 muscular security guards after he tried to take a peek under the dresses that maids were wearing. Yeah, we arrived around 5 hours ago and they still didn't return. It's slowly getting darker too. I think that we will need to start heading back soon, Izumi said, looking to the sun that lazily was moving behind the horizon. I just hope that Mom didn't show him anything too embarrassing, Momo said, a bit dejected that she couldn't spend more time with her giant friend. Like your shrine? Melissa asked, getting a slight glare in return. Don't call it that, the Ravenette said back, but blushed anyway. Is it normal to make a shrine to someone important for you? Todoroki asked Izumi, who was rather surprised that he talked to her at all. I think that's just a joke, Todoroki-san. It would be a bit strange to make something like a shrine for another person. The Greenette tried to reply. Says the girl whose her whole bedroom is an all-might shrine. I'm still having nightmares of Uncle Might staring at me from every surface possible. How are you even sleeping in that room? Melissa asked once more, clicking her tongue after messing her own strike a bit. But it's all might. Everyone have a poster or two. Izumi tried to defend herself. Yes, but you have more than 200 and all of his action figures twice over, not to mention any other merchandise that Uncle's agency let out onto the market. The blonde countered, observing how her opponent scored a point. Don't worry, I'm tempted to decorate my own room back home in similar way. The face my old man would make. Todoroki said with a smile, even when he messed up his next shot. Suddenly the background music that was coming from the dance floor quietened down a bit, and the voice of Momo's mother could be heard from the speakers. Hello. I'm sorry that I couldn't attend this party with you all, but it was for a greater cause. Sadly, we will need to end our celebration soon, but there still is time for a last dance. Please come here to the dance floor and have fun, she exclaimed, getting the attention of everyone. The music started to play louder, a slow and classical song. When everyone got onto the prepared floor, one of the musicians used his quirk to create an illusion of a grand dance hall, with the tall walls and a ceiling made of dancing lights. It looked as if millions of fireflies lazily moved through the air, pulsing gently in a colorful spectacle. Seeing from the stage how the teens were having fun and started to dance, she signaled Izuku to come out to them. She had to admit that his body was in fact extremely not suited for wearing any clothes. The bulky torso and mechanical limbs weren't designed to be covered by cloth, and the head seamstress had to reinforce all the places that were in risk of being ripped apart. It looked nearly funny, which wasn't her intention at all. The Titan didn't complain after they started the fitting process, but his daughter made up for that. Luna even asked a few times if it was really needed for her papa to wear anything. Seeing that Izuku stopped just short of the illusionary wall, she was about to ask what's wrong but was surprised by his action after a second. The steel giant took a step back and the 8 lights around his eye lighted up, constructing a hard light hologram in front of himself. Maya watched with dumbfounded face as a 2-meter-tall knight in a green plate armor and a flowing black cape appeared out of nowhere. He had short green hair and green eyes, smooth skin and a symmetrical set of slightly glowing freckles on his face. With Izuku's body staying beyond the illusionary barrier, the holographic construct walked onto the dance floor. All of the teens immediately spotted the newcomer, stopping their dance and observing with dropped jaws how he approached Momo. Talking with Melissa and Izumi, Momo stood back to the knight who slowly made his way to her. Seeing the wide eyes of her friends, she looked back and nearly fainted, seeing her friend's old body. "Zuku? Is this you?" the Ravenet asked, but her only reply was an extended hand and a slight bow from her friend. Tentatively taking the offered palm, she felt that his hand was wrong somehow, and that his eyes were looking a bit absent. Pulling her softly, Izuku led her to the center and started dancing slowly to the tune. Swaying to the gentle melody, the two of them didn't register that the rest of their class stood to the sides and observed their dance. Mina was recording everything with her phone. Melissa was racking her brain how it was possible, and Izumi was taken aback by the uncanny resemblance of the newcomer to herself. This moment was magical for the Ravenet. She was dreaming about it for a long time. At the same time, something wasn't right. Looking into his eyes, she was certain that they were looking sad and lifeless, even when his face had a brilliant smile on it. The feeling of his hands on her own was wrong too. It was as if they were made from a cold crystal instead of the familiar warm metal. After another minute, she was certain that something was not right. Looking around, she saw faint 8 lights beyond the wall staring back at her. To the confusion of everyone, she let go of her dance partner and started to walk off of the dance floor. Stopping just on the edge, she extended a hand to her friend who was hiding behind the illusion. To everyone's surprise, after half a minute, the green-clad knight in the middle disappeared in a shower of light particles. Just after that, the familiar giant hand emerged from the wall and let Momo take a hold of one of his fingers. The young girl slowly backed into the center, with the real body of her friend following just after. Kaminari snickered a bit from how strange and ridiculous their giant classmate was looking in his new clothes, but got elbowed from Kirishima and Jiro, who were standing to his sides, to silence him. "You look dashing." Momo giggled to her friend, who nervously shuffled in place. "To my defense, formal wear never was looking good on me," Izuku replied in a soft voice. To the young girl's amazement, it was the first time he seemed embarrassed of something. "Would you care for a dance with your princess, my knight?" She decided to be a bit playful, seeing that her friend still was nervous. "It would be my honor," he replied, extending a hand for her to stand on. Bringing her closer to his chest, he allowed her to grip his other hand and started to slowly dance around, remembering that night only a few weeks ago. For him at least, it was still a bit strange to think that it was whole 6 years already. "I never thought I would witness a real titan wearing a suit dancing with somebody," Melissa said, gesturing for Izumi to take her own hand and starting to dance with her. The greenette tried to follow, but it was apparent she didn't have any experience in this. With that gesture of the blonde inventor, everyone started to dance on the edge of the dance floor, leaving the middle for their giant friend in the Ravenet, who was laughing happily in his arms as they danced away. When the whole group arrived back at the dorms, it was already dark outside, with the sun hiding behind the horizon not even 20 minutes earlier. In a loud cacophony of laughter and conversations, the Class 1A strolled into their dorms with only Izuku, Momo, Melissa and Izumi staying behind for a few minutes. Powerloader drove the truck back to his own house on campus, intending to return it in the morning. "That was quite fun, we need to repeat that sometime," Momo said, stretching a bit. "I agree, but at the same time I would prefer to not be treated as a dress-up doll by your mother again," Izuku quipped. After their dance, it turned out that even when made quite modular, the outfit couldn't be taken off without damaging it. Maya was pouting all the time that the group of seamstresses took to cut it open in a way to not destroy the fabric. "Personally, I think you were looking fabulous, and Auntie certainly will try something like that again." Melissa smiled, with the inactive round drone in her hands. Luna was tasked for now with some work from Melissa's father, so she decided to stop operating the small device to not get distracted. "If I'm gonna get stuffed in another set of clothes like that, I'm overloading my reactor core," Izuku replied flatly, causing his friends to chuckle. "Don't be like that, Zuku. You were looking quite good in that getup, maybe unusual but good," Momo said, still chuckling at how nervous the giant seemed to be just because of the clothes. "If you saw," he started but paused mid-sentence. Equals warning. Localized graviton emission detected. Equals? Zuku? Momo asked her friend, seeing that his whole attention snapped in a direction away from them. Suddenly the lights on the whole campus dimmed significantly for few seconds but returned to normal afterwards. Hatsume. At this one word everyone immediately understood that something was happening, especially when Izuku started to swiftly move in the direction of the support department workshops. "What's happening?" Momo asked, as the only one who in a dead sprint could keep up with the Titan. Equals directive 0 feet, keep her safe. Equals with that prompt showing in his vision, he gave in to it this time, grabbing the surprised girl and placing her inside of his armored chest, the safest place around. Without a word he picked up his pace, now sprinting by himself. Melissa and Izumi were left behind, with the Titan crushing the walkway under his powerful stride. Still very shocked and confused, Momo connected to her friend. She flinched when the gate to the hangar was unceremoniously shoulder rammed out of the way. Thankfully the hinges held as it crashed into the wall, cracking it in some places. A sea of industrial-size cables were laid everywhere, all of them coalescing into the large doors of Izuku's workshop. In a few strides her friend made it into the next room, where Hatsume was just about to press a button on a console. The whole place was a disaster. Empty bottles of energy drinks and at least a dozen of empty coffee mugs were strewn all around. In the center was a platform of sorts, with Izuku's original antenna on one side and a crude imitation of it on the other. All the power cables were haphazardly connected to the base of this device, giving the Ravenet a really bad feeling of what was about to happen. "Zuku! Stop her!" she yelled, and her friend tried to follow that order. "For science!" the pink-haired girl shouted, pressing the startup button just before getting grabbed by Izuku's hand and getting yanked quite harshly away from the console. The device started to hum, making the whole room vibrate from the power gathering in it. At this time the two girls who were trying to catch up to them entered the room, with Melissa going wide-eyed from the sight. With a string of warnings about emissions of all kind of bosons and other particles, Izuku clearly saw that the reaction was far from controlled. Standing between the contraption and the two girls, he tossed the unresponsive pinkhead to them, with Izumi catching her easily. Momo felt her body being restrained by the cockpit's safety harness, maybe even a bit tighter than the last time. "Brace for impact." Her giant friend's voice sounded in her ear through the neural interface. With a roar his own reactor came to life, creating as much power as it was physically possible. Using his energy shield he created a barrier to protect them all, and then the world went white. Well, I hope everyone liked the story, and please share or leave a like, or subscribe to see that you guys like the story, and I'll see you all on the next one.